Hello. So I'm back going live. This is going to become an obsession of mine. And I think it's all to do with Uranus in Gemini, honestly. This placement, this signature Uranus in Gemini is actually right on top of, actually, no, it's Pluto that's on top of my Uranus right now. My natal Uranus is in Aquarius. Pluto is making its way right back to go over my Uranus in Aquarius. And I think that this is the moment for me to say more about Uranus, and in particular, Uranus in Gemini. And I was very inspired by two things yesterday that I want to relay here. The first was, in fact, the Leo King. I don't know if you are a fan or you watch the Leo King. I don't know if I consider myself a fan, but I definitely tune in to the Leo King sometimes. And what the Leo King made me come to realize yesterday was my own interpretations of this full moon, which I really don't think I shared as explicitly, but that this full moon we just came from is really about giving up something. It's really about giving up doing something alone. This full moon we just came from is really wanting us to stop doing something alone and stop investing our time, our money, our energy, our resources into just ourselves, and to really widen the circle of collaboration, widen the circle of investment, of who you're relying on. Ultimately, that's this Capricorn thing. So hello, people watching. Basically, to stop relying on yourself at this full moon, the way that you do it then brings me to another creator who I want to show you on Instagram. It's this woman. So normally I'm really not into manifesting content, but this woman has been coming up on my page quite a bit. I don't know if you know her, see her. Her name is, I don't know her name, but her whatever, Manifest Like Mom is her name, and she is the epitome of Uranus in Gemini to me, because she's the one that always talks about how language is the way that you're going to change your life. Grammar, she cites crazy sources, but she's also incredibly relatable. The content also is coming from obviously TikTok or Instagram, and so there's this Uranian element of immediacy. And her content right now is an emblem of Uranus in Gemini. And there's something that she said in a video that I liked quite a bit, which was that this idea of what if it was easy? And I know that that's something that gets thrown around a lot in the manifestation communities, but what she said afterwards changed how I even consider and understand the mechanics of manifestation, which is that your mind doesn't leave a question unanswered. So even if you don't know how to answer this question, your brain is going to go around looking for evidence as to why that question can be answered. And so when we're asking ourselves all these questions of why me, why is it not working, why is my life like this, which, by the way, I think most of us who enter into the astrology world are deeply unsatisfied in some area of life, or if you're not coming into it from an unsatisfied area of life, astrology really does bring you down into these deeper questions of, am I in charge? Is this fated? Is this not? And I think that the mechanisms of the brain that Uranus and Gemini, Uranus definitely being intelligent technology, and then Gemini being, I'd say, the local brain, kind of like what she's alluding to here is like the inputs and the data points that our brain uses. Our brain would very much so be an Aquarian thing rather than a Gemini thing. So I think that the key point that I'm wanting to get across just in this live today is simply that your brain will always answer the questions you give it. You will always, your mental system will always seek out the answer to the question, or proof essentially. And that's how our brains work. And I think that's incredibly a Uranus in Gemini situation. So it's not often that I see a creator online match so 1 and 1 up to this, like a planet, for example. The last time I felt so strongly was with the K-pop Demon Hunters. That whole franchise and movie is directly correlated from my perspective to the grand air trine of Pluto and Uranus. And when Venus is in Libra in particular, that's when that movie really blew up. There are 3 girls in that movie. Anyway, that's a digression here, but essentially between this woman on Instagram reminding me that there is a way to use your brain. I'm so sorry for these, what's it called? The bings. Between this woman on Instagram that's reminding us that the way we use our brains is that you give your brain a question and it will answer it. You don't need to go into big thought thinking to answer your question. Your brain will naturally seek out the proof. Okay, so you need to ask the better questions, and that's a Uranus in Gemini revelation situation here. Okay, and then when Leo King is here telling me, reminding me that this Capricorn full moon we just had was really about ending the part of your life that you're doing alone. That Saturn in Aries rulership very much so telling us that we are done doing a big part of our life alone, and that we really need to move into community. We need to move into engaging the Aquarian field. And just a few hours from now today, the moon's going to move into Aquarius. And so we are really, really going to be tapping into that opposition to Jupiter. When moon conjuncts Pluto, there is a synthesis with the larger unknowable mechanism of our higher brain. And I think that Uranus gives us a much easier entry point into the Pluto changes, this Uranus in Gemini. And this is what I've been trying to speak to in this video with this creator I mentioned. I think her name is Manifest Like Mom. And it's just this idea that you can give your brain a question and your brain will answer it in time. And as I say that, it reminds me a lot of prayer, a lot of like surrender in a way. And I'm not saying we surrender to the logic of our own brain, because I also recognize that the brain is changing a lot right now. The actual like Pluto in Aquarius is changing the collective consciousness of what our brain actually is, and therefore how we think of ourselves and what our identity is and what a humanity is. And of course, on one level, this is about like the comparison with technology and AI and robots, but on another level, this is about the like higher architectures, which aren't even necessarily spiritual. They're far more mathematical. Something I like about this woman online, Manifest with Mom, is that she's super mathematical, but she's also super woo and very grounded. I think another part of her account is being a mother. And there's, that's a really nice combination for me that I've just grown to appreciate. And again, as I said, she seems to be an emblem of Uranus in Gemini for me, just in how committed she is to the grammar and to the words and to the logic of how what you're saying is kind of keeping you in whatever space that you already are. Okay. And then of course, it wouldn't be one of my videos if I don't say this, which is that she in many videos goes on to say and prove mathematically, which I can't do, but you can go check out, that time is an illusion and a nonlinear construct. Okay. It's like it's a present moment thing, and everything we want is right here. And it truly is a matter of changing that perspective, more so than it is trying to make yourself understand something. I think that astrology, we get into this pattern of thinking we can understand our chart better, and therefore that might unlock our lives. I know that I've, made workshops and programs along that premise and thesis. But I think actually what I do as an astrologer is I read the chart in a very specific way, which is meant to give you those new questions to ask yourself that your brain has to go search for, right? Like, I don't read any placement as bad, and I don't see that as spiritually bypassing. I don't read any placement as a challenge you can't overcome. And I don't see that as spiritually bypassing. I read the strengths, and I read many questions. Okay. I'm quite a Gemini person. I ask many questions about the chart, and 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, okay, the person I'm working with will be like, oh, actually, you're right. And I don't think about it that way often enough. Imagine if we were thinking about ourselves more often, if our normal setting was to be thinking about ourselves in our capacity and with curiosity, not necessarily claiming that we know everything about life, but just asking our brains these questions. And in that way, removing our identity from our brains as well a little bit, right? Creating that space, which is actually what allows everything to grow. The space between your brain is what I'm saying. So when you can ask a question of your brain, it's not your job to use your brain to figure it out. It's your job to really give it the input, which is that Uranus in Gemini input. You say, it's a great question that I like. How can this be easier? And that's not for you to go figure out. It's for your brain to find evidence for. And again, brings me back to prayer, brings me back to this concept of surrender, brings me back to this concept of being emotionally honest, which is the most important thing that I see in the chart right now with Mercury in Cancer retrograde, being emotionally honest with ourselves. Pluto is ruled by Uranus, is ruled by a little very sweet crab that's walking around and trying holding the weight of the transformed human psyche on its back, you know? So this is why Manifest with Mom, actually that makes so much more sense now that I'm unwinding all of this. Mom is very much so a Cancer scenario. Manifest with Mom is very much so this rulership, Pluto in Aquarius, ruled by Uranus and Gemini, ruled by Mercury in Cancer. So that's just the thing. And I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about not thinking anymore and not using our brains in a way where we think we have to logic something. We have to sit and really force ourselves. Another creator I really like is Yeshuani. And this is something she's mentioned, like if you're not able to focus on something, maybe you call it your ADHD, you call it this or that, it's not for you right there and right now. And of course, if you have a job that you need that for, then that's kind of a different story and a different conversation. Even I have been on ADHD medications in the past and then decided to stop and just pursue a life where I didn't need that medication. Perspective on the mind and on what humanity is. Okay, it's incredibly neutral. And that's astrology, and and so does it with Mom person. She's incredibly neutral because I think anyone who's interested in mathematics, anyone who's interested in really the edge cases and really tuning into their own understanding from inside instead of taking something in and regurgitating it, which I think is 99% of the internet right now. People who are sharing their own realizations and perspectives. That is what feels the most alive to me. And I don't know many other people. So if you know other creators like that, like Yeshwani or this woman Manifest Like Mom, I will say Manifest Like Mom gets into a little bit of a loop in a way that even Yeshwani does not. And I think that even the Leo King yesterday, again, let me know if you also have an interesting relationship with the Leo King. I'm not, again, as I said, a huge fan, but I will always get something from what he shares, and I appreciate how much to the edge that he is. I forgot what I was going to say about what he said. But essentially everything in the world right now is pointing us closer and closer to the Aquarian, to the group, I think he said this, that the algorithm and the robots are all going to eat themselves. Do you know how rampant and easy it is to go online somewhere and to find like how to create a business online, how to do this, you can literally, there's a workshop for anything these days, and it's becoming so flooded that it makes me skeptical, which I think is surely just Pluto being on my own Uranus right now. But I think there's still hope, and there's still only growth that's possible and only love to return to. So that might be where I end my thoughts, but I will pull a tiny tarot because I love this tiny tarot. This tiny tarot will just draw me to something else to conclude this with. I have a little thing here. I love this tiny tarot deck. It's very much so Mercury and Cancer for me. Mercury Cancer is like, well, Cancer is just all these little tiny, beautiful, cute baby like things that you got to nourish and make bigger. And then, tarot is this system of intelligence that I think is breaking, not dissimilar to how I feel like astrology is breaking. And I'm going to have to say more on that and figure out what I mean. But that is ultimately what I'm here to share as an astrologer, is this idea that astrology itself is breaking, tarot is breaking, the way we're using our minds has to come to a very, very big change. And I can only imagine that with this basket situation happening at the end of July, that there's a big change that we just necessarily are stepping into. And that's why this full moon was very much so about ending, really, really shutting something down. And I have thought about quitting astrology, which is not time yet for me to do that. But I have also thought about quitting the way that I'm doing astrology, and thus leaning only into experimentation. I think that's what everyone needs to do, is only lean into experimentation, lean into the Pluto world, especially that, Jupiter opposing Leo now, lean into experimentation. We have one more month with the North Node in Pisces, only one more month to really move, into infinitude. And ironically, of course, that 1 month is the entire month of Mercury retrograde, and it's also the month where we're having this basket situation. And so, don't be passive in this time, despite the Pisces of it all that wants you to just give it up. And when I say surrender, when I say something like prayer, like, it's very active. It's very, very active, and it wants you to experiment. Like, my internal connection that I've been able to make with myself, like truly only in the last week, has led me to a much, much different mindset about most things that I do. Okay, so I picked 2 tiny tarot cards, and we will look at them now. I have both, and I don't read reversals, just so you know. I got the 8 of Cups and the 2 of Swords. That's very much so what I've been saying. Okay, starting with 8 of Cups is walking away. This is kind of the full moon energy of stopping, like ending something, like walking away, completion energy. And then the 2 of Swords is that kind of surrendered state. And there is a strong pull into the self. And I wonder if this card is really just about this time and this day, even just over these next few hours of the moon's remaining time in Capricorn before the moon moves into Aquarius. And, they're just walk away fully at this point, not from who you are fundamentally, but walk away from how you've been thinking you have to do this. Hi, Peach Doors. Yeah, of course. I'm glad you're here. I'm having so much fun doing these streams. It's kind of exactly what I'm saying everyone should do. Not necessarily stream, but experiment and be different, because we need that. We need to end the way we've done something and not restart something so that it can become a perfect system, but just experiment. It's going to be at least the next 18 months of incredible experimentation. And so I'm just leaning into it right now. So thanks for being here. Okay, I think I am done. So I'm sorry if you just joined, but I pulled 2 cards. I did a long ramble about 2 creators that I like very much. So, well, technically 3 if you include the Leo King, but I talked about Yeshuani, and I talked about this woman manifest like mom. And I also talked about how your brain will always answer a question that you give it, and that we don't need to be finding the answers ourselves through brute force, like through using our brain in a way that it's not kind of naturally shifting its own gears in. And I think all of what I'm saying, you can apply to the basket that's forming. Saturn in Aries is very much so taking responsibility for what's going on for yourself. And then the Neptune, Uranus, Pluto is this large scale change in how we use our brains. Jupiter in Leo, of course, is the, what is the word? Magnification? No, that's a weird word. Making bigger of our hearts. And I don't agree with the Leo King. He doesn't like Jupiter very much. I'm a fan of Jupiter. It's kind of a silly thing to be a fan of, but this is a very, very equal match, I would say, between Jupiter and Pluto, because I think we've been doing so much more work on Jupiter than we realize, because it's just been so emotional. It's been such deep work on family that we've been doing over the last year. And now that Mercury is going retrograde in Cancer while Jupiter has shifted, we are able to linearly process all of the work that Jupiter did and teach it or express it, connect to our own intuition and wisdom. And maybe this is why I'm so big on prayer right now, or just even this idea of connecting inward to yourself, which is like this idea of teaching yourself Jupiter and Leo. Jupiter and the fire signs is all about the personal expression of your own wisdom. Chiron in Taurus, Chiron at all is always about self-teaching, self-healing. So when Chiron and Jupiter are together here, it is a tough square, but we need to push through the Jupiter, through the Leo, through the expression of our hearts to heal this wound, okay? Whatever the wound is that you think is keeping you back, it's actually pushing you forward right now. So keep going. And the direction that you should go is towards the Pluto experiment, soon to be North Node experiment. And so do Uranian things to change your mind, to explore your mind. Don't even try to change your mind. Maybe that's too much of a heavy thing to say. It says, don't require a big hullabaloo. Don't require a big, what's the word? Like output. Don't require something huge to happen. Just continue exploring and be in the energy of who you are right now. That's that Saturn position in this larger basket. Saturn needs you to be yourself and needs you to be in the present moment. You can't be in the future thinking what's going to happen. Obviously, we're done with the past. Jupiter's out of Cancer, but we are kind of like a perfect storm of antenna towards all the intelligence right now. And I think that this woman on Instagram, as I mentioned, is this very Uranian, Uranus and Gemini figure, manifest like mom. This woman, Yeshuani, I really love. And the Leo King, who I think is a very sharp astrology reader. I'm not sure I am fully similar in most of what I think about normally and how I approach the world, but I always appreciate how he lines things up. So I think that's all I'm going to say, guys. I pulled the Eight of Cups and I pulled the Two of Swords. And so we are walking away. Certainly, maybe we are walking away from that Two of Swords. Maybe that's what it is. It's like not time to sit around anymore. It's time to like move and process and work with our emotions. And it's going to be this whole month of July where the processing will bring us through to whatever this huge, big next chapter is that this configuration is really heralding. And keep in mind, August, we have eclipse season. And then the later part of this year, we have a Venus retrograde. Early part of next year, we have Mars retrograde. There's an enormous amount of just like churning and change. And so don't look at the astrology and not see it in your own life. Begin tracking it in your own life, in your own body. Start with your screens, like people you enjoy consuming. Who are they right now? Are they a Uranian figure? Are they a Pluto figure? Are they a Mercury figure? Honestly, I was thinking to myself just as I was saying that, which am I? I'm pretty sure I'm a Mercury retrograde figure right now. I'm a Cancer. I have a lot of that outer planet stuff going on, but I think my work in this moment is to get myself and get you to be honest with your emotions, only so you can tune into what you actually want, because it's only in that honest reflection of self that you can make a sincere prayer and then have that prayer be the input you give to your Uranus and Gemini brain. And then essentially your Uranus and Gemini brain goes to find the answers it needs. Okay? Your brain you don't need to think. There's not much Sagittarius going on right now. We don't need to go, write the thesis. We don't need to mash our brains anymore. We need equal input, output that asks the right questions and gives us new data points. Okay? Okay, that is what I have. Thank you for being here. Hello to everyone who's here. Maybe if anyone has any questions, I know I have subscribers only on right now for the chat. So I'm going to be going live more often. So if you'd like to subscribe, then next time I go on, I've been very Uranian lately. Exciting time for my son to be at 3 Gemini. Whoa. Definitely an exciting time for your brain to be at 3 Gemini. What are you doing? How are you seeing that express in your son, Peach Doors? I know that you're a YouTuber also, and that's a very Uranian thing to be doing. I don't know if you want to share anything more about how you are embodying Uranus right now. The Uranus will be on my Venus and my Mars probably in a few years, but Sun is quite a lot. I haven't had that transit. Talk about a change in identity, and talk about this like Leo configuration too, having Sun in Gemini. Well, it's not Sun in Aquarius, but it's Sun in an air sign, right? It's this comfortability with maybe a split identity, comfortability with shifting. And so anyway, I won't go too much into this, but I hope your nervous system with a Uranus on the Sun has been, well, I won't say that it's been stable. It's probably been really lighting up. And I think that the work is to increase your capacity to be able to hold yourself with a much more expanded solar system within you. I was going to say nervous system, but then I'm like, it's the Sun, so I might as well say a solar system within you, and the character you're here to play in the world. Okay. All right. So unless there's any more questions or reflections, I shall say goodbye for now. Enjoy the Aquarius moon in a few hours. Keep your eye out for the themes, but also just head straight into it. Like deep dive into the group, into the idea, and into the change of your brain. And you don't know where Pluto is. As I said, enter through Uranus. Just start asking yourself questions like, this is my favorite one. What if this was easier? What would it look like if this was easier? And then your brain is going to find ways, because it automatically is looking for data. I just released a video essay that ends with a call for people to trust each other, be honest, and speak truth to power. Wow, I'll have to go find that. Oh my goodness, I'd be interested. Yeah, okay, I'll try to watch that. That sounds very empowering. I'd be curious what brought you to make that video, Peach Doors. Ah, beautiful. Okay, well, that's a great note to end on, I think. Thank you for your work. It's also a very silly video. Good. I think Gemini is like the clown. So it's like you need to be silly. Like I think it's this, that's we're not trying to do the Capricorn thing anymore of like changing the world through like trying to fight oppression through more oppression, right? That's not how it's going to go. We need to be completely, I'm so pro silly. So I think that makes even more sense as a Gemini. Of course, if you are like a Capricorn person, like, yeah, be as serious as you want, but did I just start? No, I've been on for like half an hour. So I'm thinking I will stop in a minute. Sorry to have missed you again, Arcane Tarot. Nice to see you. I pulled a 8 of Cups and a 2 of Swords. So, oh no, but thanks for coming in anyway. It's good to see you. I think that's what I have. I mean, unless anyone else has anything else they want to share. No, why are you sorry? This is, let me say this. My whole point of this video is like Uranus and Gemini, right? And these are the words we're saying. I don't know why you're sorry Don't be sorry. Well, I'm sorry you missed the live, of course, interaction. I'd love to interact with you, but like the way like you've done nothing wrong here, you know. You're perfectly fine. There's no need to be sorry. But as I said, I'm going to be doing this more often because it's the Aquarian experiment that I feel very alive in. And so I'm sure I will be able to catch you again soon. Okay, cool. Let me know on comments or anything else. That's very sweet if you want to go back and watch it. But as I said, I'll be again live tomorrow. Sometimes I think it's not as fun to watch back, but maybe you'll get something from it. I hope everyone has a lovely day. Enjoy the Aquarian shift we're going into when the moon moves. And I will either be back tomorrow or Wednesday for another live. I'm really enjoying it. So I'm really grateful you guys are here. Thanks to anyone who tuned in. If you want readings with me, I'm doing them mostly on Mondays now moving forward. So I have some times available on my Calendly. You can go check it out. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to write to me. And yeah, okay, my friends, have a lovely day, and until the next one, bye-bye.